The rise of YouTube has fundamentally changed how real-life events are recorded, shared, and interpreted. Unlike traditional media, where narratives are filtered through editorial processes, YouTube allows raw, often unverified footage to reach millions almost instantly. This creates a unique category of scary real-life stories, where the fear does not come from fiction, but from the unsettling realization that what is being watched either actually happened or plausibly could have happened. When analyzing three of the most disturbing real-life YouTube cases, the disappearance of Alyssa Lamb, the disturbing uploads of Luca Magnotta, and the controversial content surrounding Daddy05, a deeper pattern emerges involving voyeurism, digital amplification, and the blurred boundary between documentation and harm. The case of Alyssa Lamb is perhaps one of the most widely discussed examples of how a single piece of footage can transform a tragedy into a global mystery. In 2013, Lamb, a Canadian tourist staying at the Cecil Hotel, disappeared under unclear circumstances. The release of an elevator surveillance video, later uploaded and widely circulated on YouTube, became the focal point of public fascination. In the footage, Lamb appears to behave erratically, pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out of the elevator, and gesturing toward unseen stimuli in the hallway. The video's ambiguity is what makes it so unsettling. It offers movement without explanation, behavior without context. A deeper analysis of this case reveals how the human mind responds to incomplete information. Viewers projected theories ranging from paranormal involvement to pursuit by an unseen individual. However, subsequent investigation indicated that Lamb had a history of mental health struggles, and her death was ultimately ruled accidental, involving the hotel's water tank. This creates a tension between interpretation and reality. The video, when isolated from context, invites speculation because it lacks narrative closure. YouTube's role here is critical. It did not create the event, but it transformed a piece of evidence into a cultural artifact. Millions of viewers became amateur investigators, dissecting the footage frame by frame. This phenomenon illustrates how digital platforms can convert private tragedy into collective obsession, often distorting understanding in the process. The fear in this case comes not only from Lamb's fate, but from the unsettling realization of how easily perception can be manipulated by limited visual data. The case of Luca Magnotta represents a darker intersection of YouTube and intentional violence. In 2012, Magnotta uploaded videos depicting acts of animal cruelty, which later escalated into the recording and distribution of a murder. While the most graphic content was removed quickly, its existence and partial circulation through platforms like YouTube and other sites demonstrated how digital media can be used as a tool for notoriety. Magnotta's actions were not impulsive. They were part of a calculated effort to gain attention and construct a public persona. Analyzing this case requires confronting the concept of performative violence. Unlike crimes committed in secrecy, Magnotta's actions were designed to be seen. The camera was not incidental, it was central. This shifts the nature of the crime from purely physical to psychological and social. The audience, whether intentional or accidental, becomes part of the event's impact. YouTube's infrastructure, which prioritizes visibility and engagement, can inadvertently amplify such content before it is removed. This creates a feedback loop where perpetrators may feel incentivized by the potential for recognition. The case also highlights the challenges platforms face in moderating content at scale. Even with strict policies, the speed at which material can be uploaded and shared means that harmful content may reach viewers before it can be taken down. The fear here is rooted in the idea that violence can be packaged, distributed, and consumed as media, blurring the line between reality and spectacle. The third case, involving the YouTube channel Daddy05, introduces a different but equally disturbing dimension: the normalization of harmful behavior under the guise of entertainment. The channel, run by parents who filmed pranks on their children, gained significant attention for content that many viewers perceived as abusive. Videos often showed children being screamed at, humiliated, or placed in distressing situations for the sake of reactions. While the creators framed these actions as harmless jokes, public backlash grew as more people recognized the psychological harm involved. Eventually, authorities intervened, and custody of some of the children was removed. This case is particularly significant because it challenges the assumption that harm must be extreme or criminal to be frightening. The unsettling aspect lies in its normalization. Unlike the previous two cases, which involve clear tragedy or criminal intent, Daddy05 operated within the boundaries of what was initially allowed on the platform. The content was visible, monetized, and even popular before it was widely condemned. This raises important questions about collective responsibility. Viewers who engaged with the videos through likes, comments, or shares contributed to their visibility, even if they did not support the behavior. The platform's algorithms designed to promote engaging content may have further amplified these videos. From a psychological perspective, this case illustrates how repeated exposure can desensitize audiences to harmful behavior. What might initially appear shocking can become normalized over time, especially when framed as humor. The children involved were not anonymous victims. They were central figures in a public narrative shaped by their parents and consumed by millions. This creates a complex dynamic where the boundary between private life and public performance is erased, leaving lasting consequences for those involved. Across these three cases, a deeper pattern emerges involving the transformation of real-life events into digital experiences. YouTube functions not only as a platform for sharing content, but as a space where meaning is constructed collectively. Viewers interpret, comment, and theorize, often filling gaps in information with speculation. This participatory element can be both illuminating and distorting. In the case of Alyssa Lamb, it led to widespread misinformation and sensationalism. In the case of Luca Magnotta, it contributed to the spread of harmful content. In the case of Daddy05, it initially enabled and later condemned abusive behavior. Another critical factor is the concept of permanence. Once content is uploaded, it can be copied, re-uploaded, and archived, making complete removal nearly impossible. This means that even after a case is resolved or content is taken down, its digital footprint persists. For victims and their families, this can prolong trauma, as the event continues to be viewed and discussed long after it has ended. Ultimately, these stories are frightening not just because of what happened, but because of what they reveal about the digital environment. They show how easily reality can be reframed as content, how quickly audiences can become participants, and how difficult it is to control the spread of information once it enters the online ecosystem. The fear is not confined to the individuals involved. It extends to the systems that allow such events to be recorded, shared, and remembered in ways that blur the line between witnessing and consuming.